Hey guys, welcome back to Florida. We promised you we'd talk about this in an upcoming video. My mistake. Well, not really a mistake, but this is a 98 12 valve long bed extended cab Cummins. So for those of you that don't know Dodge, in 98 it was a split year. 98 and a half had the computerized 24 valve. 98 to 98 and a half had the 12 valve, so it was only half a year. This came up on Marketplace, very little detail. I texted him, didn't get an answer back, texted him, didn't get an answer back. Like 3 days later I got an answer that it was a 12 valve out of 4-wheel drive. So I said, can I come look at it? And I think it took him about a day to send me an address, and in the time it took him to send me the address, he dropped the price a couple $1,000s from 12 to 10,000. And so we get over there to look at it, and this is what we found. Pretty solid truck. The back bumper had a pretty big ding in it, and you can see the body did. So we picked up a bumper at the salvage yard for 60 bucks. A few dents, a few dings, but pretty clean truck. Pretty typical Dodge dash, so we did put a dash cover on it. We did put a driver's seat cushion and cover on it. We'll go around and look at that. We put transmission lines on it.
The ones that were on it were a little bit sketchy.
It had new tires on it already. Front bumper is the new aftermarket bumper that was already on there. We did put tow mirrors on it, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. The driver's top door hinge needs a bushing put in it, but that's no big deal. So here's the driver's side. You can see we put the new cushion on it, and this is actually, I think it was about 150 bucks on eBay. All the, Genos, every place are really expensive. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna try the $150 eBay one. Super comfortable. So speedometer says it has 380,000 miles on it. The gentleman we bought it for has owned it for 20 years. Had 120,000 on it when he bought it. The truck had no oil pressure on the gauge, but had a mechanical gauge, and it wouldn't idle. Of course, those of you that know the P-pump know that the idle slowly works down over time, and you got to adjust it like you would anything. So that was a simple fix. The oil pressure is a sending unit on the side of the engine, so notorious for failing. So $50 sending unit, that's good. But yeah, you can see the interior. We'll go around and I'll show you. But I just don't believe the 380,000. And where I was going with that was that the oil pressure gauge. So he thought it was the dash, and I have a feeling they may have bought a dash off eBay to try to replace it and see if the problem go away. And if you've ever bought a dash cluster off eBay, the higher the mileage, the cheaper the money. So that's my assumption. I don't really know. No way to really prove it. He didn't know. I didn't really get into it with him. He said he did the transmission a couple years ago. But if you guys come on over here and look under here, it's virgin. It's unmolested. Original airbox. Still got the cover on it. Still has the noise ring, or whatever you want to call it, in the turbo. There's a ring that goes in there that makes them not whistle so much. All the things that you would normally see gone from somebody monkeying. And the injection pump, which doesn't look so unmolested now because somebody's messed with it, but the injection pump when we bought it was the factory Bosch pump. Still had all the safety wires and the anti-tamper screws and everything in the pump. I may have stole that pump for the other Dodge, and we'll talk about that in another video. But it's the 180, I think, or 185 horse pump. So in 94 to 96, I believe, Dodge used, I think, 175 horse on the standard and 165 on the auto. In the cam in the pump that runs the plungers was kind of a poor grind, kind of a profile. That's what I'm looking for. And they didn't like to fuel much above 2200 RPM. So if you find a 97 or 98 pump, if it's an auto, it was like 185. If it was a manual, it was a 215. And those are the holy grail of the pumps. Those actually had variable timing, pump timing and everything based on throttle position. But the moral of that story is that the 98 pump will probably turn more RPMs easier than the 94 pump that's currently on Dodgy over there. And that's why we're going to change that, because we'd like to get, you know, not crazy RPMs, but we'd like to get to 3,000 RPMs with full fuel. Right now, or I should say when we came down last fall, the way it worked is at about 2200, 2400, it would start to defuel. It would turn a few more RPMs, but it was no power behind it. So that's something we're going to talk about in another video. But anyways, I digress. Charged the air conditioning. It was actually just very, very little bit low. It wasn't much, but charged that up. It had one new battery, which is all you really need if you don't have to run the grid heaters and these things. And four-wheel drive works. Transmission works great. So the story, when I finally got over there, nobody around. Keys were in the truck. There's a number on the windshield. So Sue calls the number, and the gentleman's like, "Yeah, I'm 5 minutes away. I'll be right over." So I'm looking at it, and we had a trip to Raleigh, North Carolina, which I think you guys have already seen the NABCEP video Sue did. But we had to go up there for work, and we got a campground. Well, we didn't have it booked yet because we were still on the fence on what we're doing. Dodgy wasn't running, which is another whole story. But we're kind of like, okay, maybe we're just going to run up, get a hotel. Maybe we're going to rent a truck, you know, try a brand new truck, because Enterprise, you can rent the 3500 for about $1,000 for the week. So we could have actually tried a brand new truck for the week. And so we get over there, and I'm looking at this, and he wants $10,000 for it. And I kind of hem and haw about it. And so I just kind of made the comment. I said, well, it's really more money than I want to spend to haul my camper to North Carolina once, because my theory was I was going to part it out. Like, it's all good parts. I'm going to bring this thing home. I'm going to part it out and just add to the Dodgy graveyard so that we can keep the Dodge running for the rest of my life anyways. And he kind of said, well, what are you willing to pay for it? And I said, well, I don't really want to insult you. I said, I just, you know, I'm going to throw a low number because I'm only, you know, I don't want to spend that much. And I said, you know, I'm not really willing to spend more than like $7,000. And he said, all right. So there's the accident. But we spent probably another $700 on it, I'm guessing, in parts and pieces, oil change, fuel filter. We did put the transmission lines on, as we talked about. We put a rear bumper in it, put the seat cover, dash pad, and just kind of greased it all up, checked it over, checked all the fluids, and we hooked onto the camper, and we went to North Carolina with it. And other being completely powerless, because I'm so used to the other Dodge, and the transmission is a stock torque converter. So again, those of you that know Dodge understand, but those of you who don't, a torque converter basically couples the motor to the transmission with fluid, so it slips. It's supposed to slip until it goes into what they call lockup. And the better, you know, billet converters you buy from this, like a triple disc converter, they have a lot less slippage before they go to lockup. So, you know, basically first, second, third gear, it's pretty, you know, useless with the camper behind it, but it made it. It made it just fine. It's got a bad power steering leak, but hey, we only had to add a quart of power steering fluid. It does the typical Cummins thing and leaves a spot under it about that big around of black oil. But you know, hey, for what it is and what we paid for it, and to part out for parts truck, you know, it is what it is. But that ship might have sailed, because Sue has claimed this truck. So this is now a kayak hauling truck. So that's what this truck has become. It's our Florida kayak truck. So yeah, unless of course we need a lot of hard parts. If we wreck Dodgy or something and need a frame or something like that, we'll build one good truck out of them. But yeah, that's the story behind the white Dodge, because I'm not sure if you might have seen it in a couple of the videos already or not, but we figured we probably ought to tell you how and why we ended up with another Dodge. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.